The starport of Nova Haven was alive with energy, as if the very air hummed with the songs of countless stars. Ships of all shapes and sizes floated in and out of the docking bays. Some were sleek and polished, glinting under the artificial sunlight, while others looked battered, carrying marks of long journeys across distant galaxies. The scent of ionized metal and fuel mingled with faint aromas of alien spices from the marketplace, creating a strange but familiar symphony for those who worked there daily. Among the constant hum of engines and chatter of alien tongues, Lila Rayner moved with quiet confidence. A human mechanic, she was not particularly tall or imposing, but there was a spark in her green eyes that made people notice her. Her hands were perpetually smeared with grease, and her jumpsuit bore stains of oil and scorched circuits, yet she carried herself with a sense of pride. She was one of the best mechanics in Nova Haven, known for fixing even the most bizarre spacecraft that most engineers would refuse to touch. Lila was hunched over a ship she had been working on for days, a sleek, black vessel with silver markings that seemed to pulse faintly like living veins. The ship was alien in design, unlike anything she had ever seen. Its systems were intricate, with energy conduits that glowed with a soft blue light, and its engine emitted hums that almost sounded like whispers. She wiped her hands on her jumpsuit and muttered to herself, "Okay, just a little adjustment here, and that should stabilize the warp core." A sudden commotion drew her attention. A group of alien nobles clad in shimmering ceremonial robes was approaching. Their skin was varied in colors she had never imagined, deep violet, emerald green, and golden bronze. Their eyes glowed faintly, and they moved with a grace that seemed almost unnatural. Lila barely had time to register them before one of them, a tall figure with silver-scaled skin, addressed her. "You are the mechanic who has worked on the Zeltheris prototype?" the alien asked, its voice melodic but firm. "Yes, that's me," Lila replied cautiously. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" The alien laughed softly. "You do not yet know us. We are princes of the Zerathian Empire. We heard of your skills, and we wished to see them in person." Lila blinked. She had worked on ships from dozens of species, but princes? This was new. Okay. Nice to meet you," she said, extending her hand instinctively, though unsure if humans shaking hands was the correct protocol. The alien looked at her hand, then at his companions, and shook his head with an almost invisible sigh. One of the shorter princes whispered something in a language that sounded like wind chimes, and the tall one nodded. Then, to Lila's surprise, they all raised their fists in unison. "It is the Zerathian greeting of respect," the tall prince explained. "You fist bump with us, and it is considered significant." Lila's brow furrowed. "Fist bump? Like this?" She gently bumped her fist against the prince's, expecting nothing more than a polite gesture. The prince froze. Then another froze. Finally, the shortest prince whispered urgently, and the tall one's eyes widened. Lila could not understand the words, but she noticed their tension. Did I do something wrong?" she asked, stepping back. You have performed the ceremony of ascension," the tall prince said, his voice trembling slightly. "You have unknowingly declared yourself the new queen." Lila stared at him. The words sounded like gibberish. "Wait, what?" The alien princes exchanged anxious looks. You are now the ruler of the Zerathian Empire," one whispered. Lila's jaw dropped. "Ruler, me? I fix engines. I'm not a queen. I'm just a mechanic." The aliens did not laugh. Their expressions were serious, almost reverent. Lila felt her stomach twist. Somehow, by a single innocent gesture, she had been thrust into a role she did not understand. For a moment, she wanted to laugh nervously and walk away. But a tiny voice inside her, the same one that had guided her hands through countless complex repairs, whispered that she might actually be capable of more than she thought. I guess I'll need to learn," she said slowly. "If this is real," the tall prince bowed his head. "It is very real, Your Majesty. You must come with us to the throne world. There you will learn your duties, and prove that you are worthy of this title." Lila shook her head. "I fix ships, I don't rule galaxies." But the princes were already moving toward their waiting ship, and despite herself, Lila followed. She felt like a tiny gear suddenly placed inside a massive engine, overwhelmed, unsure of her place, but part of something far greater than herself. The journey to the throne world was unlike anything Lila had ever experienced. Their ship glided through space with an elegance she had never seen. The interior walls shimmered with flowing energy, and the gravity shifted subtly as if the ship itself was alive. Lila could not help but touch the walls, tracing the glowing lines with her fingers. The princes were mostly silent, watching her closely. Every now and then one would make a subtle gesture or whisper, and the others would nod. Lila guessed that some were still worried about the accident of the fist bump. Finally, one of the princes spoke. "You are different human. Others might fear the responsibility we have given you. But you are curious, bold, and unafraid. That is why, perhaps, you are the one." Lila blinked. "Different? Bold? I just tinker with engines." The prince smiled faintly. "You do not realize it yet. But the ways of humans, your hands, your mind, your heart, they are capable of things that others cannot even imagine." For the first time, Lila felt a flicker of pride. Maybe she was more than a mechanic. Maybe she really could rise to this challenge. But there was still a gnawing fear. Could someone like her, simple human from a small starport, really command a galactic empire? By the time they reached the orbit of the throne world, the planet below shimmered like a jewel. Cities stretched across mountains, rivers of light flowed like ribbons, and enormous towers of energy pierced the clouds. Ships buzzed in intricate patterns, docking and undocking with precision. The throne world was magnificent, unlike anything Lila had ever seen. As the alien ship landed, she felt a nervous excitement bubbling in her chest. This was her world now, or at least it would be soon. She could hear the quiet whispers of the aliens around her. Some were anxious, some hopeful, but all looked to her with something akin to awe. "Remember," the tall prince said softly as they walked toward the grand gates, "the fist bump. It was not a mistake. It was fate." Lila swallowed hard. Fate. She had never believed in destiny, but somehow, as the gates opened before her, she felt that maybe, just maybe, she had stumbled into something extraordinary. And so, the human mechanic who had only ever dreamed of fixing ships found herself at the beginning of a journey that would change the galaxy forever. The fist bump that started as a joke had made her a queen, and the stars themselves seemed to hum in anticipation of what she might do next. Lila took a deep breath, tightened her jumpsuit, and stepped forward into the dazzling world of alien royalty, not yet sure what awaited her, but ready to face it. One spark, one problem, and one challenge at a time. The gates of the throne world opened wide, and Lila Rayner stepped inside, feeling like a tiny spark entering a blazing fire. The city stretched endlessly before her, with towers that seemed to touch the sky and bridges of shimmering light connecting them. Hovering vehicles moved gracefully through the air, and streams of alien citizens walked along glowing pathways, their colorful clothing reflecting the light of the twin suns overhead. Every detail was strange, yet oddly mesmerizing. The alien princes walked beside her, their steps confident and precise, as if they had done this journey thousands of times. Lila followed quietly, feeling increasingly out of place. Her jumpsuit and grease-stained hands seemed comically ordinary, compared to the elegant robes of the court and the advanced technology surrounding her. Still, she reminded herself that she was a mechanic, someone used to fixing impossible problems, and maybe, just maybe, she could handle this too. They entered a massive hall, its ceiling stretching higher than any building Lila had seen on Nova Haven. The walls pulsed with energy, displaying images of planets, star systems, and fleets of ships. At the center of the room stood a grand dais, and around it were dozens of alien dignitaries, their eyes fixed on her as she approached. A tall, golden-skinned figure stepped forward, his voice echoing in the hall. "Welcome, Lila Rayner. You have arrived at the throne world of the Zarathian Empire. You are now recognized as our new queen. Your presence here fulfills the prophecy of the Ascended One." Lila froze. "Prophecy? Ascended One? I'm just a mechanic. I didn't do anything. Silence, human," the golden figure interrupted, though his tone was calm, not cruel. "Your actions, though unintentional, have brought you to this position. You have been chosen by fate, and now the galaxy awaits your guidance." She blinked rapidly, trying to process the words. Fate? Prophecy? Guidance? She had repaired starships, not ruled galaxies. Her heart pounded in her chest, and for a moment she thought she might laugh or scream. Instead, she simply swallowed and nodded, unsure of what else to do. One of the alien princes stepped forward. "Do not fear, Lila. You will not face this alone. We are your allies." Another prince added, "Your mind and hands, your ingenuity, are unlike any of ours. We have seen your work. Humans find solutions where others see only problems. That is why you are capable of this." Lila felt a strange warmth at their words. Maybe they weren't expecting her to be perfect. Maybe they only needed her curiosity, her courage, and her thinking. The golden figure gestured and a holographic screen appeared above the dais. It displayed detailed maps of the Empire, its planets, fleets, and colonies. The responsibilities of a queen are many. You must ensure the stability of these worlds, maintain peace among diverse species, and protect the Empire from internal and external threats. Lila squinted at the holograms. I can learn, but this is huge. I don't even know where to start." "Start with understanding," the figure said gently. "Observe, listen, and act when needed. Your first task begins tomorrow. You will oversee the repair and upgrading of the Imperial fleet. These ships are old and many are failing. If you succeed, you will earn the trust of our people and begin your journey as their queen." Lila nodded slowly, trying to absorb the enormity of the situation. She had worked on ships before, sure, but an entire fleet, and alien technology far beyond anything she had seen. Her mind raced with calculations, possibilities, and solutions. That night she walked through the royal quarters, her boots echoing softly on polished floors. Despite the grandeur around her, she found herself missing her small workshop on Nova Haven. The smell of oil, the hum of engines, the feeling of solving a problem with her own hands. Here everything was vast, magnificent, and intimidating, but deep down she realized that her skills were the same. The materials might be alien, the engines strange, but the principles of problem-solving were universal. The next morning, Lila was escorted to the Imperial shipyards, a sprawling complex of towering structures where massive fleets were docked. Ships of all sizes floated in the air, some glowing with energy, others appearing almost skeletal as if they were long abandoned. Engineers and mechanics from across the galaxy bustled about, working on repairs and upgrades. "Your first challenge," one of the alien princes said, "is to identify the failing systems and propose solutions. The fleet must be ready for the ceremonial inspection in 2 cycles of the sun. If you fail—" His voice trailed off and Lila shivered. She took a deep breath. "I won't fail," she said, though quietly enough that she was speaking mostly to herself. She began her inspection. The ships were unlike anything she had ever touched. Energy conduits hummed with a resonance that made the hairs on her arms stand on end. Engines glowed with strange colors and panels responded to touch as if alive. But Lila's hands were steady. She traced the conduits, examined the engines, and tested the control systems. Slowly, piece by piece, she began to understand. Some ships had worn out stabilizers causing energy leaks. Others had faulty navigation cores that would misalign during hyperspace jumps. Lila made notes, sketches, and calculated solutions. She suggested replacing certain alien alloys with a combination of human and alien materials that she theorized would be more durable. The alien engineers watched her closely, murmuring among themselves. Many were skeptical at first, but as Lila demonstrated her ideas, their doubts faded. She showed them how to reconfigure energy conduits to prevent overloads, redesign thrusters for more efficient flight, and even upgrade shield systems to withstand asteroid collisions. By the 3rd cycle of the sun, a hum of excitement filled the shipyards. Lila's solutions were working. Ships that had been considered beyond repair now glowed with renewed energy, humming with stability. The alien engineers, once doubtful, now moved with newfound respect, following her instructions without question. One of the alien princes approached her, eyes wide with admiration. You are remarkable. No one could have done this so quickly." Lila shrugged, wiping sweat from her brow. "I just think differently. I look at a problem and I try every angle until something works. That's what mechanics do." "But you are not just a mechanic," the prince said quietly. "You are a queen, and your people will see in you what I see now, a leader who acts, who solves, who protects." Lila smiled faintly, feeling a strange mixture of pride and disbelief. She had never imagined that her skills, the very things she had taken for granted, could be seen as leadership. Maybe the universe didn't need rulers who were only born into power. Maybe it needed humans who could create solutions where others saw despair. That evening, as the twin suns set behind the towers of the throne world, Lila stood on a balcony overlooking the city. She could see the fleets she had helped repair, glowing faintly in the distance, ready to defend and explore. She could see the people of countless species moving below, trusting her, even if she herself struggled to trust in her new role. She clenched her hands into fists, not in fear, but determination. "I will do this," she whispered. "I don't know everything yet, but I will learn. I will protect. I will lead, and I'll do it my way." Just then, a soft chime alerted her to a message from the alien princes. It read, "Your first task complete, but greater challenges await. The galaxy is vast and not all are friendly. Rest now, human. Tomorrow, your true journey begins." Lila exhaled, feeling the weight of her destiny settle on her shoulders. She was still a mechanic at heart, but she had begun to understand that leadership was not about titles. It was about action, courage, and vision. And if a human mechanic could rebuild alien ships in days, maybe she could rebuild a galaxy on hope and ingenuity. As she watched the stars shimmer above, Lila realized that her life had changed forever. The fist bump that had seemed like a small, meaningless gesture had propelled her into a role she had never asked for. But perhaps, deep down, she had always been ready. And somewhere deep in her heart, she smiled. For the first time, she felt that humans could truly be more than anyone expected. And maybe, just maybe, they could inspire the entire galaxy to believe the same. The morning on the throne world broke with a soft golden glow, spilling across the towering spires and floating platforms of the Imperial Palace. Lila Rayner stood at the edge of a balcony, her eyes tracing the endless fleets docked in the skyports below. The alien princes had promised that today would be the start of her first official trials as queen, and although Lila had solved the fleet's mechanical issues, she knew that being a queen involved much more than fixing engines. A quiet hum echoed from the balcony as a small hover drone approached, projecting a message from the Imperial Council. Its golden text shimmered in the air. "Your Majesty, your first trial is to oversee the stabilization of the outer colonies. Many systems are at risk due to failing orbital relays and environmental hazards. Success will prove your capability as a leader." Lila exhaled. The outer colonies were scattered across dozens of star systems, each with its own population and dangers. The task seemed impossible, but she reminded herself of the days she had spent repairing ships on Nova Haven. Every impossible problem had a solution if she remained calm, observant, and creative. The alien princes were waiting in the royal shuttle. "Your Majesty," said the tall silver-scaled prince, "you will not face this alone. We will provide support, but the decisions and actions are yours. Your judgment will shape the future of our empire." Lila nodded. "I understand. Let's go." The shuttle glided smoothly into orbit and jumped into hyperspace, the stars stretching into brilliant streaks as they traveled light years in moments. Lila studied the reports of the colony's problems. Some had orbital relay failures causing energy shortages. Others had failing climate systems that threatened crops and water supplies. The challenges were not only technical but required leadership and quick decision-making to avoid panic among the colony's populations. Their first stop was Colony Atheris, a planet with vast floating cities above turbulent oceans. Sensors showed that the orbital relay controlling weather patterns had malfunctioned. Storms were building dangerously, and if the relay failed completely, the city would face catastrophic flooding. Lila surveyed the situation with a steady eye. She gathered a team of alien engineers and explained her plan. "The relay core is old, but it's repairable. We'll reinforce the main conduit with a combination of local materials and alloy I've tested. We'll also adjust the energy flow to stabilize the climate temporarily until the replacement core arrives." The engineers exchanged doubtful glances. "Are you sure, Your Majesty?" one asked. Lila smiled faintly. "I don't have the luxury of doubt. Follow my lead." Hours passed as Lila worked tirelessly. She climbed the high platforms, interfaced with alien control panels, and reconfigured the energy flow. Sweat dripped from her brow, but she never wavered. Slowly, the storm clouds began to disperse. The sensors showed stability, and the people of Atheris breathed a collective sigh of relief. "Your solutions are extraordinary," said a local governor. "No one believed this could be done so quickly." Lila shrugged. "I just look at a problem from all angles until something works. That's what I do." The shuttle moved to the next colony, Virelia, a desert planet with vast solar farms and limited water reserves. The colony faced a different threat, failing energy grids that powered essential water extraction systems. Without intervention, the population would face dehydration within a few cycles. Lila studied the solar arrays and discovered a flaw in the distribution system. The panels were out of sync with energy converters, causing inefficiency and power loss. She quickly devised a temporary rerouting of the energy, allowing water systems to continue running. Then she organized teams to repair and synchronize the converters permanently. As she worked, she noticed something remarkable. The alien engineers, initially skeptical of a human mechanic, were now following her instructions without hesitation, inspired by her determination and practical approach. Lila realized that leadership was not about demanding respect. It was about earning it through action and competence. By the end of the day, Virelia's systems were stabilized. Lila was exhausted but proud. The alien princes observed quietly, impressed by her ability to balance both technical expertise and decision-making under pressure. Their final stop was HFY, a mining world rich in rare minerals but plagued by frequent quakes and unstable infrastructure. The colony had been damaged by recent tremors, and vital transport and supply systems were compromised. Lila walked through the rocky streets with a keen eye, analyzing broken conveyor lines, damaged power nodes, and unstable bridges. "This is tricky," Lila admitted to herself, "but nothing I haven't fixed before." She devised a multi-step plan: stabilize the ground using energy dampeners, reroute transport systems, and implement temporary supply lines. Unlike the previous colonies, HFY required her to think creatively, improvising solutions with limited resources. Lila's human ingenuity shone through as she combined alien technology with her own mechanical intuition, devising tools and stabilizers on the fly. By the next cycle of the sun, HFY's infrastructure was secure, the miners and citizens could move safely, and the transport of essential resources resumed. News of her success spread quickly among the colonies, inspiring hope and admiration. The alien princes looked at her with awe. "Human, you do more than we expected," said the golden-skinned prince. "Your actions have prevented disaster. You are not only a mechanic, you are a leader of remarkable skill." Lila smiled, wiping sweat from her brow. "I just solve problems. That's all any good mechanic or queen should do." That evening, back on the throne world, Lila attended a council meeting with the Imperial Council. She expected the meeting to be formal and intimidating, but instead she found the council engaged in serious discussion about strategy, diplomacy, and technology. They spoke of trade agreements, fleet expansions, and alliances with distant star systems. The council members were polite but wary, unsure of how to address the human queen. Lila listened carefully, absorbing every detail. Then she began to offer suggestions, small, practical improvements that could strengthen fleets, stabilize colonies, and improve trade efficiency. At first, some council members whispered to each other, skeptical of a human's advice. But as Lila explained her reasoning and demonstrated quick simulations of her solutions, skepticism turned to respect. Ideas that seemed impossible under traditional methods suddenly became achievable. "You see," she said softly, "it's not about fancy technology or tradition. It's about understanding the problem and working creatively with what you have. Sometimes a fresh perspective is all it takes." By the end of the council meeting, the members were nodding in agreement. Lila realized that humans, though considered physically weaker or less advanced in some areas, had a unique advantage: the ability to improvise, to think outside the rules, and to take action quickly. Later, in the quiet of her quarters, Lila reflected on the day. She had faced impossible problems, stabilized entire colonies, and impressed alien leaders, all without commanding armies or wielding power in the traditional sense. She felt a strange pride, knowing that her human ingenuity had made a real difference in the galaxy. The alien princes visited her again that evening. The silver-scaled one spoke first. "You have proven yourself, Your Majesty. The trials of the outer colonies have shown that your leadership is not inherited. It is earned. You are more than capable of ruling this empire." Lila shook her head, smiling faintly. "I don't feel like a queen. I feel like a mechanic who is just trying to do the right thing." "And that is why you are perfect for this role," the prince said. "Empires need rulers who act, who think, and who care. You have shown all three." As they left, Lila walked to the balcony once more. The fleets she had repaired gleamed in the light of the twin suns, and the colonies she had helped were now secure and thriving. She realized that being a queen was not about luxury or ceremony. It was about responsibility, problem-solving, and inspiring others. For the first time, she truly understood what the alien princes had meant when they said humans could achieve extraordinary things. She had no royal training, no noble lineage, yet her hands, mind, and heart had made her worthy of the title. And somewhere deep in her heart, she felt the spark that had always guided her as a mechanic, the spark of curiosity, determination, and courage burning brighter than ever. She knew that the challenges ahead would be even greater, but she was ready. Humans had a way of facing the impossible, and Lila Rayner was determined to prove that no problem was too big, no star too distant, and no empire too complex for a human to make a difference. The throne world had never been quieter or more tense. Though the outer colonies were stable and the fleets repaired, Lila Rayner could feel a subtle unease spreading through the imperial palace. Whispers of dissent, hushed arguments, and sidelong glances hinted that not everyone was pleased with a human mechanic-turned-queen leading the Zerathian Empire. Lila sensed it too. Even the alien princes she had fist-bumped, her first unlikely allies, seemed wary at times, as if expecting something to go wrong. But Lila's mind was clear. She had faced impossible engineering problems. She could handle politics, she reminded herself. Leadership was just another kind of problem-solving. Her intuition proved correct sooner than expected. That evening, the silver-scaled prince arrived with urgent news. "Your Majesty," he said, his voice low and serious, "we have discovered a plot against you." Lila frowned. "A plot? Who?" "A group of noble lords believes that a human should not rule the Empire. They plan to undermine your authority, sabotage fleets, and even turn colonies against you." Lila's heart raced. She had expected political challenges, but outright sabotage was dangerous. "How far along are they?" she asked. "They are patient. They work in shadows. Their first strike will come during the upcoming planetary summit." Lila took a deep breath. She had no army here yet, not one she could fully trust. But she did have something she knew well: her mind, her hands, and her ingenuity. "Then we prepare," she said, "and we don't wait for them to make the first move." The next day, Lila convened the council in secret. "There are factions plotting against the throne," she said calmly. "We don't know exactly what they will do, but we can anticipate their moves and protect our people. I want every ship inspected, every colony informed, and every communication monitored." Some council members nodded. Others whispered, clearly uncomfortable with a human giving orders. Lila ignored them. "Doubt me if you must," she continued, "but I won't allow fear or tradition to endanger the Empire. We solve problems before they become disasters. That is what we do." The alien princes assisted her, coordinating efforts across star systems. Lila worked tirelessly alongside engineers and strategists, developing early warning systems, emergency protocols, and even temporary reinforcements for key colonies. Her ability to combine alien technology with her own logical reasoning proved invaluable. Then came the first strike. During the planetary summit, a series of communications and security systems failed simultaneously. Panic began to spread as dignitaries discovered that critical information had been erased or tampered with. The nobles behind the conspiracy had hoped this chaos would discredit Lila, but Lila was ready. She quickly accessed the central network and traced the sabotage to a hidden server on a remote moon. Using a combination of hacking tools and mechanical overrides, she restored the data, secured communications, and even set traps to catch the saboteurs. The alien council gasped as the systems came back online, stabilized by the human queen in record time. How did you?" one of the lords stammered. "I looked at the problem," Lila replied simply. "Then I solved it. That's all there is to it." Her calm efficiency impressed everyone present. The saboteurs were discovered and arrested without violence, their plot revealed to the public, and Lila's reputation as both a leader and problem solver grew exponentially. But the victory was only the beginning. Lila knew that power often bred envy, and those who opposed her would not rest. She spent the following cycles reinforcing fleets, shoring up defenses, and inspecting colonies personally. She met with governors, engineers, and citizens alike, demonstrating that a queen's strength comes not only from authority but from action, empathy, and guidance. One evening, While walking through the palace gardens, Lila reflected on the events. She thought about how different this empire was from her home on Nova Haven. Here, tradition and hierarchy dictated life, yet the same principles of problem-solving applied. A stubborn engine, a failing relay, or a misguided noble. They all required observation, reasoning, and decisive action. The silver-scaled prince appeared beside her quietly. "You have proven yourself already," he said, "but there will be more challenges. Others will try to test your judgment and your courage." "I know," Lila said, looking at the stars above, "but I've faced impossible machines, failing colonies, and dangerous storms. People plotting against me is just another problem to solve. I just have to stay sharp and trust my instincts." Soon the Empire faced a test unlike any Lila had yet encountered. A distant star system central to the Empire's trade routes began experiencing sudden energy fluctuations. Entire fleets risked losing power mid-orbit, and colonies faced shortages of essential supplies. Initially, the cause was unknown. Some whispered it was a natural phenomenon. Others feared sabotage by rival systems. Lila immediately launched an investigation, analyzing data from orbital sensors, fleet telemetry, and energy grids. After careful study, she discovered that a rogue asteroid belt had entered the system unexpectedly, interfering with power and communications. Most alien leaders would have panicked, but Lila remained focused. "We can stabilize the system," she told the princes, "but we need to act fast. I'll design temporary energy buffers and guide the fleets around the interference until we can remove the asteroids." Her plan was daring. She coordinated fleets to move in precise formations, created energy shields to absorb the interference, and even engineered mechanical probes to divert the asteroids safely. Working day and night, Lila guided the operation herself, adjusting and recalculating whenever unexpected issues arose. By the third cycle, the system was stable. The fleets moved freely again, colonies received supplies, and trade routes reopened. The alien princes, watching in awe, realized that Lila's human approach, practical, inventive, fearless, had achieved what even the most experienced alien engineers thought impossible. The council held an emergency meeting afterward. One of the oldest lords, a stern figure who had doubted Lila from the beginning, spoke. "I admit it. Your Majesty, you have proven that leadership is not merely tradition or birthright. You act, you solve, you inspire. The Empire owes you its stability today." Lila smiled faintly. "I didn't do it for credit. I did it because it had to be done. That's what humans do. We don't wait for permission or perfect conditions. We solve problems and protect others even when it seems impossible." The council members were silent for a moment, considering her words. Then slowly, one by one, they nodded in agreement. Lila had earned not just authority but respect, not through fear but through action and determination. Yet Lila knew that peace was always fragile. The conspiracy that had attempted to overthrow her was not fully eradicated. She had won battles, but the war for loyalty, trust, and stability would continue. The alien princes, however, remained steadfast at her side. The silver-scaled prince placed a hand on her shoulder. "You are no ordinary queen," he said quietly. "You are a human, and humans, though small in number, have a courage and creativity that surpasses many civilizations. That is why we follow you." Lila felt a swell of pride, but also a quiet determination. She knew the universe was vast, filled with unknown dangers and challenges. But she also knew one thing. Her human ingenuity and courage were powerful tools, capable of facing any threat, whether it came from nature, technology, or the envy of others. That night, she returned to her quarters, exhausted but determined. She looked out over the city once more, watching the fleets shine against the black velvet of space. The galaxy was unpredictable, but for the first time, she felt she had the skills, the allies, and the courage to meet whatever came next. Her journey was far from over. There would be new threats, new challenges, and new problems. But Lila Rayner, the human mechanic who had fist-bumped alien princes without knowing her destiny, had shown that humans could rise to greatness, not through power alone, but through ingenuity, courage, and the determination to act when it mattered most. And as she drifted into sleep, the twin suns of the throne world casting long shadows across the palace, she knew that the final trials of her rise to true power were yet to come. But whatever the galaxy threw at her, she would face it, not as a mere mechanic, not as a human alone, but as a queen who solved the impossible, inspired others, and proved that even one human could change the course of the stars. The throne world glimmered under the twin suns, but Lila Rayner hardly noticed the beauty of her surroundings. For weeks she had worked tirelessly to stabilize colonies, protect fleets, and thwart conspiracies. Yet now, a new challenge loomed, one that would test not only her ingenuity but her vision for the galaxy itself. Reports had arrived of disputes between several neighboring star systems, disagreements over trade routes and resource rights that threatened to escalate into full-scale conflict. As Queen, Lila understood that this was her moment to demonstrate that leadership went beyond solving mechanical problems. It required diplomacy, trust, and courage. The alien princes accompanied her to a council meeting with representatives from the troubled star systems. The chamber was massive, its walls lined with glowing panels showing maps, fleets, and communication grids. Every delegate eyed her with skepticism, suspicion, and curiosity. They had heard of the human queen who had solved impossible crises, but some were still uncertain whether a single human could lead the galaxy. Lila took a deep breath and stepped forward. "I know there are disagreements," she began, "but I also know that every problem has a solution. Fighting among ourselves only weakens all of us. We can find a way to share resources, maintain trade, and ensure the safety of all our citizens. But to do that, we must work together." Murmurs ran through the chamber. Some delegates whispered in alien languages, questioning her authority. Others glanced at the alien princes at her side, looking for reassurance. Lila ignored the murmurs. She had faced doubt before, from skeptical engineers, conspirators, and even entire colonies. This was no different. She would act. Over the next hours, Lila guided the negotiations with calm precision. She proposed practical solutions, suggesting trade adjustments, shared resource networks, and cooperative fleet patrols to protect shipping routes. When one system threatened to withdraw, she personally visited their communication hubs, explaining the consequences of conflict and demonstrating the benefits of cooperation. Her human determination and clarity of thought inspired confidence. For the first time, the delegates saw a leader who acted not out of fear or ambition, but out of reason, care, and foresight. Slowly, alliances formed, agreements were drafted. Conflicts were reduced to manageable disputes. By the time the council adjourned, the galaxy's star systems were aligned toward cooperation rather than confrontation. The alien princes, standing proudly at her side, whispered to each other, clearly amazed. The silver-scaled prince said softly, "Your wisdom is greater than we imagined. You have united what generations of leaders could not." Lila smiled faintly, feeling both pride and humility. "I just look at the problem and find a solution," she replied. "It's what humans do. We adapt, we create, we act." Despite the successes, Lila knew her work was not finished. She wanted to leave a lasting impact, something that would ensure peace, progress, and collaboration long after her reign began. She thought back to Nova Haven, to the small starport where she had repaired ships with her hands, fixing engines and circuits with determination and ingenuity. The lessons of her past guided her vision for the galaxy. She decided to create a central hub, a place where all species could learn, innovate, and work together. Plans were drawn for a massive starport called Lila's Starworks, equipped with workshops, classrooms, and research labs. It would be a place where engineers, scientists, and explorers of all species could share knowledge, develop new technologies, and collaborate without fear or prejudice. When construction began, Lila visited the site daily, supervising every detail. She worked alongside engineers, offering practical advice and hands-on guidance. Aliens of every species marveled as she climbed scaffolding, adjusted machinery, and solved design problems in ways that no one had considered. Even the most skeptical observers began to see that a human's creativity could achieve incredible results. As the hub neared completion, word of Lila's accomplishments spread across the galaxy. Colonies, star systems, and fleets celebrated the human queen, who had turned crises into triumphs. Children learned stories of her courage, engineers studied her methods, and leaders of distant planets admired her ability to unite so many worlds with reason and compassion. One evening, as the final structure of Lila's Starworks glowed under the twin suns, the alien princes returned to her side. "You have done more than we could have imagined," the golden-skinned prince said. "Not only have you protected the Empire, But you have inspired it. You have proven that humans, though few in number, can change the course of the galaxy. Lila laughed softly. I'm just a mechanic who likes to solve problems, but I'm glad it helped. The princes smiled, but then the silver-scaled one looked serious. There is one last tradition, he said. A ceremonial acknowledgement of a ruler's ascension. You began this journey with a simple gesture, a fist bump. It is now time to make it official. Lila blinked. A fist bump? Seriously? The princes nodded. Yes, it symbolizes respect, unity, and leadership. It is simple yet powerful. It was your first act as queen, and now it will mark your full acceptance as leader of the empire. Despite the grandeur of the occasion, Lila couldn't help but smile. The same gesture that had begun this extraordinary journey would now cement her role. Surrounded by alien dignitaries, engineers, and citizens, she stepped forward. The princes raised their fists. Lila raised hers. Fist met fist echoing across the starport, simple yet profound. The hall erupted in cheers. Aliens of all species clapped, shouted, and celebrated. The galaxy had witnessed something remarkable. A human mechanic, through ingenuity, courage, and determination, had become a legendary queen. Later, as the celebrations continued, Lila walked among the crowd. She shook hands, offered guidance, and listened to the people. She realized that leadership was not about grandeur or fear. It was about presence, action, and care. A queen was not only someone who gave orders, but someone who inspired, protected, and solved problems for all. That night, standing atop the balcony of Lila's star works, she gazed at the stars. Ships glided through orbit, colonies thrived, and the galaxy hummed with energy and possibility. Lila thought about how far she had come, from a grease-stained mechanic in a small starport to a queen who united species and protected civilizations. It all began with a simple, unknowing gesture, a fist bump. She chuckled softly to herself. Who knew a human could become a queen? Just by being human? The alien princes joined her silently. They did not need words. The respect, trust, and admiration in their eyes said everything. Lila felt a deep sense of accomplishment, but also humility. The galaxy was vast, the challenges endless, and her journey as queen was only beginning. But she also knew one undeniable truth: humans, with their curiosity, courage, and creativity, could achieve greatness beyond imagination. And so, the human mechanic who had once repaired starships now stood as a symbol of hope, ingenuity, and unity for the galaxy. Lila Rayner had shown that greatness did not come from birthright, wealth, or tradition. It came from action, determination, and the courage to face the impossible. As she gazed at the horizon, the twin suns casting long golden shadows, Lila raised her fist once more, almost reflexively. In her mind, she was not just a queen. She was a mechanic, a problem solver, a human, proof that even one individual could change the course of the stars. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humans, small and simple in number, could be extraordinary in action. Lila Rayner had become a legend, not because she desired power, but because she dared to act, to create, and to inspire. And her journey, though it had begun with a humble fist bump, would echo across the stars for generations to come.